robust, and usually it's good at connecting people with the resources that they need. And then, of course, program safeguards are in place, such as screening of volunteers. All volunteers are trained, Corey, and have account monitoring. Volunteers are needed for this program. If you have been successfully managing your own personal finances and you would like to contribute a few hours a month to this program, we're actively seeking volunteers. For the money management program, training and ongoing support is provided by our program, and it's a great group of folks who are out there helping people in the community. So please contact me if you have an interest, if this might be something that may work for you. So thank you. Well, are you ready? All right. Well,
hi everyone. Very pleased to be here in your community today. This is wonderful, isn't it? And to get an opportunity to have a nice dinner. We have to really thank Michelle for orchestrating all this and making it happen. First credit unions. See, and that's what you have to remember, credit unions. That's what we're about, right? We are about people helping people. That's what makes us different. And we have a slogan, better values, better banking, because we believe that the kind of values we have at the credit union about caring for people, it's more than money. It's caring for you, that you're healthy, that you're wealthy, and you're wise. It's educating you. And because of all that, it makes for a better banking experience. That's what that's about. But you know, as I was driving in, I noticed a pet store up the street, and it reminds me of a story that I had a buddy that ran a pet store back in Pennsylvania when I was growing up. And he told me the story once about that this lady purchased a parakeet, you know, from the pet store and took it home. And within like 2-3 days later, she brought the parakeet back in, and she was all upset, saying like, you have to take this parakeet back, it's very fresh. I mean, all it does all the time, it says, hey baby, how about a little kiss? How about a little kiss? It's a fresh parakeet. So the shop owner's going, how are we going to solve this? And he goes, I know. He goes, I have a parakeet in the back that just prays the rosary all the time. Maybe some of the holiness will rub off on this parakeet and it won't be so fresh. So what happens is he takes the parakeet that's fresh, takes it out, puts it in the cage with the parakeet that's praying the rosary. And he steps back and he looks, and the parakeet goes, hey baby, how about a little kiss? Parakeet with the rosary drops the rosary and says, thank God my prayers were answered. Well, that's what we need. We need prayers, don't we, when you start thinking about what's going on with all the scams and the fraud that you have happening today. And particularly against our seniors, our elders. If you work hard your entire life, you have your savings, and now you have all these phone calls trying to trick you into signing away your money. It's wrong. And credit unions realize that. Last year, I represent, I'm with a trade organization, right? I represent the credit unions of Massachusetts and New Hampshire and Rhode Island and Delaware. So I travel around a lot, and we're doing programs like this in all the 4 states, trying to educate folks about these scams that are going on. And you know, last year, the credit union said, let's do a national survey. Let's find out what's going on about this. And when we got the returns back, it's like we already heard, I mean, it's frightening how many seniors are the targets of scam. So the credit union said, let's do something about that. Let's create an online program called CU Senior Safeguard. And it's on a website, bettervaluesbetterbanking.com. And this program will use this to train all our people in the credit unions, to certify them so that they know what senior abuse is about, financial abuse, so that they can recognize it when someone comes in, and so that they would know what to do when they see this. So credit unions in all our 4 states are certifying, they're going through this program, educating the people who work at the credit union so that they're prepared to protect you more. To make sure that there's no scammers coming after you. They're getting certified in this. So as Michelle was saying, that where if someone comes in and they say, and start asking you a question about a deposit or something you're looking to withdraw, be patient, don't get angry, but it's part of our training to make sure that you're protected. It's about protecting you. That's what's important. So not only do we put this program together, but we also now have a version that's on this website, bettervalues.betterbanking.com, that you can go to, and you can have your caregivers go to it. You could have a daughter or a son or a grandson go to this site and get trained so that they too can know how to recognize what elder financial abuse is and what these scams are, so that you can be protected. So I think that's an opportunity to take advantage of it. There's plenty of resources out there to protect you. You've heard today, look at all the resources that you have. And you have the resource of CU, Senior Safeguard as well. There's hotline numbers to call. If anything, you always have the credit union. Trust in the credit union, because we're here to protect you and to help you. And I think that's important. And the other thing is too, that what I hear when I go around to all these different events that we're doing is report it. If you feel somebody's trying to scam you out of your money, don't be embarrassed. Don't. I mean, a lot of us already have been scammed ourselves. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's very important. If something like that happens, see the man with the badge? Report it. Report it. Don't be embarrassed. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. And if also this, and this is the last thought I'm going to leave you with, besides credit unions. And that is when something happens, if you get a phone call, oh, your grandson is in an accident, send money. No, always verify. Before you do anything, verify. Call your daughter or your son, say, is Johnny in it? Was he in an accident? But verify it before you do any action. And never give out your social security number. Never. My father-in-law did that once. I almost went through the roof. Oh, yeah, I got it. I won't go there. But always verify. Thank you so much for being here today. And thanks, Michelle, and thanks for
So I just kind of want to touch on something that Keith said. I know that we're all here for, targeted senior financial elder abuse, but realize that this happens to everybody of all ages. So you're leaving here with a bunch of education, share it, because it might not happen to you. It could happen to your son, your grandson, your granddaughter, your daughter. And with you sharing all your information that you have just learned, it will really help kind of spread it and stop all these scams from kind of portraying throughout the community. We're going to actually go into a question and answer period right now, so if anybody has questions they may want to ask, please raise your hand or yell them out, and we'll try to get them answered.
The do not call system doesn't seem to work very well.
I got that one off. I think we need to turn the other one.
Turn it off. I just turned.
I'll turn it down.
Everybody,
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Hearing it, I'm really sorry.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
The do not call list actually is a tool to help you figure out when you got someone on the phone that's a scam. If you're on the do not call list and someone's calling you and they're trying to sell you, what does that tell you? It's a scam. Hang up. Don't ask them, don't say to them, put me on your do not call list, because you're already on the do not call list. If you were put on there a long time ago, you're still on it. So use it as a tool. What's happening is these criminals are just going well beyond what the do not call list anticipates. Good companies are calling you. Criminals are calling you, trying to steal your money. And the way to react is to quietly hang up. Don't yell at them. Don't press 2 to get taken off the list, because all that tells them is that there's a real person that lives there. So the best thing we can do is quietly hang up. If you have an answering machine, well, and if you look at Colorado ID, that has its own set of problems now. But if you let it go to voicemail and then you hear that it's someone you know, you can pick it up or you can call them back. You know, so the do not call list, the problems that we're seeing isn't what was anticipated. What did I say? There were 30 billion robocalls last year. And I read an article recently that it's going to be worse next year because they're going to be really targeting the cell phones. And so, you know, on your cell phone you can block calls, but they just go to another number. It's all computerized. So quietly hang up. And then come and yell at me for do not call. Thanks for your question. We have power.
So one thing that happened to me this week for the first time, I mean, a lot of the calls are showing up as being local now.
Yes.
But this week, I got 2 calls in one day. One was from a close friend, had her name and number, and it was someone from a police, saying they were police officers, you know, looking for money from somewhere. But it was her name and her phone number. And then a couple of hours later, I got one from Valley Medical Group here in town, and it was someone trying to sell insurance. So usually, I haven't had names attached before, it's just been local numbers, but this has just happened this week. So you think it's somebody you know.
Part of the problem can be that Facebook was hacked recently. I don't know if you're on Facebook. A lot of our private information's out there. So we need to be careful to safeguard that also. So again, quietly hang up.
What I generally do, even if I recognize the number, I let my answering machine take it.
Yep.
And if they're not good enough to leave a message, I don't reply.
You know, sometimes what these criminals do is they buy all the numbers in a certain area code. You know, one time, there was a month where Anita over there works in her Hampton office. She got, everybody from Belchertown was calling Anita because they were all getting the same scam calls. And you could tell that they bought the numbers in that area. So, you know, we're all aware of it. It's a real problem. You know, and the phone companies, I think, are really they're going to have to figure this out. And they're looking at, there's this thing called Shake and Stir. Not a very catchy name. However, what it does is it's a program that they are working on that, well, if you get a caller ID, it has to be the real caller ID, or that number will be disconnected. You know, so I was at my sister's house and she got a call from RK Miles. And I said, RK Miles is calling you. And she's like, why would RK Miles be calling me? But it was in the 413 area code. It's in the same town, you know, and then it was a scam. So she quietly hung up. Don't yell at them.
Let me just add to that as well, too. I think with the phone calls, here's something I suggest, and I'll probably get in trouble for this. But I'm used to getting into trouble. You're fine. Write a letter or give a phone call to Congressman McGovern. Congressman McGovern covers this territory, right? I think more lawmakers need to hear about all these problems because the more they hear from you, you're the voters, you're the constituents, the more they hear from you about, we got to do something about these calls. You know, obviously there's the phone company, but when the lawmakers get wind of this, and if they hear enough of you writing or calling, believe me, they're going to do something about it. So I think that's another ace that you could play to protect yourself.
Telemarketing calls is the #1 complaint at the Federal Trade Commission.
That's right. We got to keep on bringing it to your attention.
Does this work? No.
There you go.
Now it does. No. Apparently only when I smack it does it work. That's how life goes.
Try turning it up.
Is it connected to that? Yes. It should be working. Are there any other questions?
I've been getting phone calls from someone saying that there are charges against me. And if I don't call them in 24 hours, the police are going to be at my door. I'm sure they're after money, but I'm curious, what would happen if I called them back?
Well, it's probably fruitless to call them back because it'll either, the number rotates and you won't be able to get somebody. I can guarantee you the police department's not going to call and say, we're going to come and get you. You know, we will just come get you. We won't give you a call back.
Second, would you also explain a little bit to, someone raised a question before about getting a call about, donating to the police department. What should someone do if they get a call like that, wanting to verify?
Well, call your local police department. Call that agency that they are representing. One of the problems with all these scams is there's still agencies, ours being one, our Greenfield Police Association, which assists a bunch of different community organizations, does raise money through a telemarketing company. So when they're calling around to people, people will call the police station and say, hey, these people are representing you. Are you actually doing this? Our station will say, yes, it is happening, and confirm. But as it was stated, verify. If you get a call and they are representing a certain organization and it's something you're interested in, verify that, yes, indeed, it is factual.
You know what, just because someone calls you a charity, doesn't mean you have to give money to them. You know, you can choose to give to whichever charity you want to give to. It's up to you. Just because they call you, don't feel guilty that you have to give them money.
A couple of charities are calling me 2 and 3 times a day.
Well, I would say to you to not engage with them. Don't talk to them.
I don't even usually answer the phone, but it's just occasionally one will leave a message and
A lot of times these calls are random and they're done by computers and they make like 1,000 calls a minute, you know, and whoever picks up first is the one
this
they
is the
talk
Red
to.
Cross and the American Heart Association.
Well, if they're legitimate ones, you could ask them to put do not call. But you call the number, you find the number, and you call them, rather than just calling the number they give you.
You don't want to use those numbers that are called technology they have these days. They're tagging your number to call other people. It's crazy how detailed they can get digitally these days, and how they'll take your number and then use your number to call somebody else. Someone mentioned that you're getting calls from this area because they've either bought those numbers or they have numbers, and I got an email from myself last week. I didn't send myself an email to sell myself something. Last time I checked it, but that's what they got my business email. And they sent it to me, from me. Really? I didn't send that email.
Why do you say not to yell at them, not to,
Because they'll know that you're a live person. They know they've reached a person and they'll call you more. And then they'll take your number and sell it to someone else because there's a real person that they also think they can trick you. And if they can get you on the phone, they can convince you.
They're salespeople.
You know, part of it, sir, is that this is a $40 billion industry. That's how much money they're making off of seniors, and that's only because of what we hear that's reported back. So a lot of seniors that don't report, that's more than $40 billion. So just think, if you had a way to make $40 billion, you would stop at nothing. You just keep calling to make money like that. That's why it's so difficult to go after these people, because they're making so much money. They're using technology, trying to scam you with the phone numbers. It's horrible. Just don't answer the phone. You know, and let it go in, like we're suggesting, let it go into voicemail, and then you can see if it's right or not.
Steve, did you have something? Yeah.
My question is, locally, I just got a scan the other day about the fire department collecting money. Do you know anything about that, Dan?
I don't, not off the top of my head, but I can check.
It was like 2 days ago.
If
They're
you call that,
calling for the fire department.
That's a lot. So with the GPA and the fire department and a lot of the local organizations that have fundraisers, typically there's a lot of pre-press about it before it goes out. I know sometimes it happens without you guys knowing it. You catch you off guard by a day or so. But for the most part, there is press releases, a newspaper, or on the radio that says, yeah, you may be getting a call from the Greenfield Police Association. It's legitimate, but as he said, always take the time to check on it if you haven't seen that out there.
What I do sometimes, if I get a call like that, I'll call back, and the phone is kind of disconnected.
That's your son.
Oh,
That's your son. Yeah.
But there was one business here in Greenfield that somebody's using their number.
Oh, yeah.
So I called back, and I got that person.
Yeah. Yeah, that's happened several times. I think there was a scam not too long ago, probably about a year or so ago now, where they were using a local business's phone number to call around to different places in the country scamming. And so when those people would call back that number, this person was super overwhelmed because they didn't know, one, what was going on, and, you know, two, now they're getting thousands of phone calls and they're used to getting like 2 or 3 a day. You know, so it affects a lot more than just the person they're trying to scam.
One thing, if you get a telephone call, I think it's Shopper's Guide, that's the Lions Club, they are doing their guidebook,
Oh, there you go.
the coupon book, so.
Mhm. Yes.
I've learned that the bad guys are very clever. I'm a transplant to the area, so when I first came here in 2011, my area was 414, and I kept my number from Wisconsin. I didn't get any bad calls, and now I'm getting so, I mean, I look at the 414 number and check my list of relatives to make sure it's not, there's so many coming in, it's ridiculous. But somehow they found out my real number, and I'm getting them all on my 414 phone. They're very smart.
The Federal Trade Commission just fined one company that was doing that, changing the caller ID, $37 million. So, and that's just one. So they're working on it. They haven't succeeded, as we all know, but they are trying to. They understand that it's really an important problem that concerns everyone, you know, but it's, they haven't figured out quite how to face it yet.
I have a question for the Life Path, money management program, the pay program, years.
Yep, that's what I do.
Does Life Path allow an advocate of a person to come with them to make all these arrangements?
Yes,
Would they allow that?
absolutely.
Okay,
No question about
okay.
That security, if you call the utility company, sometimes they won't give you the information unless you're required to give you the last four numbers of your social security. I don't feel safe doing that. I don't know if they should require have that information.
Sometimes you can say, can I identify myself a different way? And you know, and say, I can give you my account number, I can give you my mailing address, I can give, you know, and you try to come up with another way.
Can I have you guys maybe address a scam that I hadn't really hear you talking about, but I know has been a problem at our credit union? And I think they're referred to as relationship or sweetheart scams via social media or phone call. Can some of you talk about that? I think that's kind of a big one that they might not know about, but it could possibly affect them. Particularly, seniors, a lot of seniors are new to computers. I know my grandmother, the grandkids bought her computer because we wanted to keep in touch with her the way that, you know, us young people only know how, through the computer. She was very, you know, it took her a little while to get used to it, and the internet is a huge place. You know, you have access to everything, everywhere, all of a sudden. So, you know, scammers are really taking advantage of that, and, you know, like I said, you can be anybody. So I say no to that in any way, shape, or form. You know, there's a million other ways to meet people, to talk to people, and that sort of goes back to the isolation piece that I mentioned before. This guy he didn't have anything better to do. He was bored. He just, you know, he lived out in, you know, mobility issues. He was at home a lot, and it's sort of just, he got really caught up in this web. And let me tell you, his wife is very mad. Very mad. But it's almost even more sophisticated than the phone scams because, you know, it's a lot less personal, so people can type anything they want. Like I said, you can get a relationship going for months, and it's even easier sometimes than the phone scams. But yeah, so that's the sweetheart scam is what they're called. We do see that quite a bit, and those are even harder to combat. So, anyone else?
We're just talking about social media, you mentioned that too, and it's not just you, whether you use it or not, it's your family that uses it, because unfortunately, we're telling everybody every 5 minutes where we are. And what we're doing, basically just giving you all my information. Or somebody in my family has done that. So this is where they know that your grandson or your granddaughter might be on vacation. And they'll catch you in that moment of, hey, wait a minute, Johnny's out in Spain and Johnny's in jail. You need to send 5,000. Social media is just, if you read the terms and conditions of Facebook, you'd be sick. What they can do by having those accounts. I use it for my business and I get scammed nonstop. Someone sold my information to universities over the last few months. I have had calls and texts and emails from every single university in the country. Love education, not going back. But they just keep, and now this isn't a scam call. This is a legitimate, this morning was Denver University. And I feel bad for these people. They're calling and they're asking me, you've gone to our Facebook page and you have clicked information to ask for more. So I'm on a lead list. And so I take the time to answer these calls. I'm like, I'm a freezing cold lead. I've got my degree, I'm good, I already work. But they are just, so there are so many ways social media can be very dangerous for yourselves, for your kids, for your grandkids. It's just, we need to give less information to the general public. We really do, as a group.
Dan, do you see that with when he was talking about like scam calls about somebody, your kid's in jail